It's Sean, all the way from the beautiful winelands of South Africa, with episode number 4 on the Purpose Inspired Life podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Sean Willard. This is me, and so excited to be with you again. Every Wednesday, I try to release some podcast, and remember, this is both audio as well as videos. For those of you who are listening on either Spotify or Podbean or Apple Podcasts, etc., you can listen to it as you walk or as you drive. I love listening to podcasts in the morning. I listen to probably 2 or 3 different podcasts, something to feed my spirit a bit, something to feed my mind, sometimes a little bit of motivation, etc. And then, of course, a little bit of upbeat music as I get to sort of the 45-minute or 60-minute mark on my walk, and I need a little bit of energy. I love listening to podcasts on the road, but I also love watching people. I love engaging with people. I love to see the facial expressions and that's why I'm making this a video podcast series, so you can watch the videos either later or first up, either on YouTube or on my website, smswoolard.com. So welcome back again to this week's podcast. You'll note that I'm building almost layer upon layer every week. First week I spoke about what the purpose-inspired life was all about. Next week, I talked about that word decision, to decide on something. The following week, I talked a little bit about the practical applications of how do we start going about looking at hitting and achieving our goals in 2025. And I want to build on that with this week's podcast. I was thinking back this week to when I first began to drive a vehicle. Now, for those of you out there around the world, I might use different words. It might be a little foreign. South Africa, we talk about robots, not traffic lights. We talk about gears and not shift and all those kinds of things. So just be aware that there might be different words used in the story. I recall, and maybe you recall for yourself as well, that very first time my dad took me out driving, and we practice and take our driver's licenses. When we do that here in South Africa, it's all in a manual car with gears. So my dad took me out in that. I remember that cadet driving out there, and that first lesson or two, I think it was mainly the first lesson. That first lesson was air racing. Oh my word! There was a lot of this taking place between, the first and the second, particularly between the second and the third gear. You know what I mean? I see that ad. Anybody else have that experience? Or cut a corner or not stop at the stop street, whatever. I remember my dad bringing me home to Honeysuckle Avenue, Sunridge Park, Port Elizabeth, and parking me under the syringa tree and saying, just want to stay there and just practice, car off, practice the gears, putting in the clutch and changing the gears and not grinding the gearbox so much. My poor dad, who had high blood pressure at the time, I probably increased it a few notches over there. Maybe the same was with you. Remember that first time? Maybe for the first few times. I mean, I can't say that was the last time I never sort of missed a gear or so, or went through a red robot on the way to getting my driver's license. In the beginning, when we do things, it's very much around the conscious thinking, isn't it? We consciously have to decide to do something. First to second, push the clutch in to third down to fourth, and then reverse it back down again. And then try and remember all those things that they tell you to do, especially these days. Look here and the rearview mirrors, etc., etc. Oh, my word. It's very much of a conscious programming that we are programming ourselves. Okay, this is what I must do. And then, of course, as the weeks and months and years go by, they become completely automatic. It's all automatic, to the extent that I'm sure if you reflect, maybe even this week or just recently, you drove from home to the shops or to the office, and you got to the office or shops and you thought, how the flip did I get here? I mean, I don't remember going through all those robots. I kind of blanked out for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I don't consciously remember going through those robots. Where was I? I was thinking about that activity. I was thinking about that movie I was watching. I was thinking about that conversation I had or that business meeting I was going to. I was deep in thought. I actually don't even recall consciously going through those robots or whatever it is. But your subconscious thinking was driving the vehicle, especially if it's a road that you drive every single day of your life. I mean, you almost could drive it blindfolded if there weren't any other vehicles there, because you would know where the little bumps are in the road, where the potholes are, and what to avoid, what to look for, etc. Who's actually driving that vehicle? I mean, you might be behind the steering wheel, but it's really your subconscious thinking, that habitual programming that has just been programmed over a series of days, weeks, months, and years, that's really in charge. Someone talked about the story of the ant and the elephant. They said your conscious mind is like the ant, and then the subconscious mind is like the elephant. And you think you consciously are in charge, the ant's in charge, but man, no ways. It's that the elephant's in charge. Elephant is driving that vehicle. Subconscious mind is so much more powerful than we give it credit for. And a lot of it's to do with the programming, not only the continual thinking in a certain direction, the feeling that it generates, the beliefs that we have. And those are generated over years and years and years of programming. What was said to you as a child, what you've said to yourself as an adult going through your life, what you think about yourself, whether something's possible or not possible, the self-limiting beliefs, the habitual thinking that maybe got passed down, and through no fault of anybody. Your parents got told certain things about money or about various things, relationships, or about possibilities. They potentially just wanted to kind of save you from either making a mistake or failure or embarrassment. And they said, no, well, you'll never be able to do that. You won't be able to do that. You then programmed that into yourself and adopted that as your belief. I could never do that. I could never be a speaker on the stage, or I could never be a professional this or professional that. I could never be a writer. I could never be a poet. I could never be pottery or an artist. I'd never be able to play provincial sport, as a professional, whatever it might be. These things are not necessarily from your parents, but it's from voices that have come through your journey along the road. It was absolutely ingrained into you as you grew up. What are some of the things that you've adopted and carried on, almost put it in your bag, your rucksack, and you've put it on your bag, and you're carrying this heavy luggage that you shouldn't be carrying, and it's time to take off that bag, take out those rocks of negative, self-limiting beliefs, and lay them aside. Who gave you that? The early bird gets the worm, and you were never the early bird, so you're never going to get the worm. You're from the wrong side of the railway lines. Who do you think I am? Rockefeller. Do you think money grows on trees? You will amount to nothing. How do you think you're going to do that? You can't do that. You don't have the ability to do that, and you've adopted that. Nobody's fault. At the end of the day, as I say, we all learning and growing. We're all in this journey called life. We do our best out there. I think for the most part, and obviously it's not exclusive, it's not an absolute, but for the most part, for those of you who are parents out there, we parents of two amazing kids, 25, 22, 23 years old, man, you make mistakes. You try your best, absolutely, but you don't always get it right. But your intentions as a parent are always loving and caring. For the most part, I'm saying obviously there's exceptions to this rule, but for the most part, everybody wants the best for their children. But in your fear of failure, maybe in your fear of something going wrong, or trying to protect your kids, and etc., out of your own anxieties and fears, etc., as you grow up and are learning and growing. And if you're not in a place of awareness, that can be quite amplified. You say things that you shouldn't have said. And we adopt those things. We adopt those as our beliefs, right? We adopt those as our habits. And I want to read a wonderful poem to you. So this will come up on the screen in front of you for those of you who are watching, and for those of you who are listening in. Listen carefully to this amazing little poem. I'm your constant companion, I'm your greatest helper or your heaviest burden. I will push you onward or drag you down to failure. I'm completely at your command. Half the things you do, you might just as well turn over to me, and I will be able to do them quickly and correctly. I'm easily managed. You must merely be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want something to be done, and after a few lessons, I'll do it automatically. I am the servant of all great men, and alas, of all failures as well. Those who are great, I have made great. Those who are failures, I have made failures. I'm not a machine, though I work with all the precision of a machine, plus the intelligence of a man. You may run me for profit or run me for ruin. It makes no difference to me. Take me, train me, be firm with me, and I will put the world at your feet. Be easy with me, and I will destroy you. Who am I? I am habit. I am habit. Isn't that an interesting little poem? And isn't it interesting how when we really pause for a moment and reflect on what we do on a day-to-day basis, how much of it is habit-driven, either good or bad, friend or foe. This morning you woke up and you did things habitually. You brushed your teeth in the same way. You're always on the one side and then the next side. And then you toweled yourself off. You dried yourself off after getting out the bath or the shower. In the same procedure as every year, James. Same procedure as every year, Miss Sophie. If you've watched Dinner for One, what a classic. Every year, a coconut. Exactly the same procedure. Go back and watch that beautiful little movie. I wonder if you just took your arms right now. Now, if you're driving or listening to the podcast and you're in a dangerous position, don't take your hands off the steering wheel. But if you just fold your arms right now with me, just fold your arms. Now, I want you to reverse that. Fold them the other way. Fold them the other way. How weird is that? How awkward is that? Just changing something as simple as that can feel really you feel totally discombobulated, man. How weird is it? Something simple like that to change. And when we want to change our habits, it feels weird. It feels weird. If you've driven a manual vehicle for many years and then you switch over to an automatic vehicle, you drive automatically without having to change gears or shift. And then you do that for years, and then all of a sudden you get back into that manual vehicle and you go from first to second to third. That first few gear changes and getting used to it, and maybe even pop the clutch because you're forgetting, oh my goodness, I've got to put my foot on the clutch, of course. With the manual vehicle there's a foot on the clutch, but with the automatic vehicle, no, can't do. Just keep or other way around. Like a dear family member of mine who went over to the USA and couldn't understand why the vehicle was jumping like that, because she kept on hitting the brake pedal like it was the clutch pedal. Something different feels very awkward in the beginning. I love what it says in this poem. You may run me for profit or run me for ruin. I will put the world at your feet, or if you be easy with me, I will destroy you. Habits are, they just is. They just is. Don't you like that? They just is. You program them. You program the elephant by your thinking, by your feeling, by your actions, etc. You program that elephant, and the elephant's on its way. And it does it. If every morning you eat the jam donut, and have done that for many years, to not eat the jam donut, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to be folding the arms in the opposite direction. If every morning you sleep in until 8:30 instead of getting up maybe at 6 and going for that walk, with first few times that you get up at 6 in the morning, your body's going to be in shock. It's going to be like, what the flip are you doing, Sean? Roll over. Don't roll out of bed. This is awkward. This is not lekker. This is not a great feeling. I don't feel good. This is completely out of sync with who we are. Sean, don't you realize that as an identity, you are a late sleeper? You're not an early riser. What are you doing, Sean? Questioning me, my habits and my beliefs and everything and the way I feel. So let me ask you this question. What habits do you want to create in 2025? And can I ask you to maybe think of you might want to write down 3, 4, 5 habits that you want to start. You might also want to think of 2 or 3 habits that you want to stop, because as powerful as a to-do list is, so powerful is a stop doing list. Now, sometimes those kind of correlate, right? I want to start exercising, so I want to stop being lazy. They kind of work hand in glove. What is something that you really want to do in 2025? Building on last week's podcast, it's going to take time. Some say 21 days, some say 66 days. I've given it at least 66 days to change habits. And I like the idea of 90 days. It's kind of like 3 months. Anybody can do anything really concentrated, consistent, persistent, and really give the entire energy to something for 90 days. So what do you want to commit to for the next 90 days? Now, folks, I really encourage you, no matter when you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, start now. Don't wait for the 1st of January, please. Don't wait for your birthday, the anniversary, for after that wedding, for after that event. I'll do it then. I'll do it in summer. I'll do it in spring when it's nice and it's warm in the morning and it's not dark and cold and rainy or windy. No. Start now. So here are the 3 points that I want to leave with you today. Similar to last week, but building on that with regard to habits. And I share this as someone that's specifically used this for my own habit of walking every morning. I started 3 years ago, and this is what made me, from my point of view, this is what's helped me to be consistent and persistent and successful on my walking journey. I started with 10 minutes 3 times a week. That became 15, 30 minutes. I put the ear pods in. I was listening to the podcasts, and I went for my coffee every morning. So I walk now an hour to 90 minutes, 5, 6, 7 days a week. But I didn't start there. I didn't start thinking I was going to walk 2,600 kilometers last year or 3,100,000 steps. I started with that first step. So point 1 again is make it small. Make it small. Does that sound familiar? Start small, start now, but start. I will sing this song for the rest of my life, because I've seen it so often through my life as a coach for the last decade and a half, but also as my life as an entrepreneur, as a businessman over the last 4 decades in pharmacy and businesses. Too many people want to go with a big, hairy, audacious goal, and they translate that into a plan, a big plan, and when the plan goes south, their goal goes south with it. Start small on your plan. What is the first thing that you can do? Make it small, but start now. Number 1, make it small. Second thing is make it loud. Just find 2 or 3 good friends who are going to hold you accountable. Okay, they're going to hold you accountable to your journey. Make it loud. Ask them to hold you accountable on your journey. What is that journey that you're going to be? Is it writing that book? Is it writing the first few pages? Getting into shape? Drinking more water? Saving for that holiday? Whatever it might be. Make it loud. And the last one is make it worth it. Make it worth it. Here's the thing. When you step out to form a new habit or stop doing an old habit, it's awkward. We've just explained that with the arm folding exercise. It's awkward to change it. It's going to be grinding of the gears for the first few days, weeks, months maybe even. If you don't make it worth it, the pain will exceed the pleasure or the prize. But we want the prize to be more appealing than the pain. It's going to be painful. There's going to be pain. So change it's going to be painful to change. You happy lying in bed until 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning and not walking. The first morning you commit to walk, I can promise you, the wind's going to be blowing, the rain's going to come, and you go, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. I'll skip today. There's going to be pain. What's the pleasure or the prize associated with taking action and then every day waking up and rinse and repeat and staying consistent to that goal, to that plan, because the prize, the vision is so great. What is it? What is it? Is it getting in shape for that wedding, that school reunion? What's the prize that makes it worth it? Make it small, make it loud, and make it worth it. And program your elephant to move in the direction of your dream. Folks, you're going to fall off the log from time to time. Yes, that's going to happen. These things happen. But if you've got people who are holding you accountable, if you've got a big enough prize to go for, then you will keep on keeping on. Start now. Start small. Building that habit and make 2025 a year where you program your elephant to move in the direction of your dream. Program that elephant for you. Tell me in the comments, tell me in the DMs, send me an email, let me know what it is that your elephant is going to be programmed in this next year, a new habit that you're going to form. And a year from today, whenever you're listening to this right now, it doesn't matter when it is, but if you're listening to it on Wednesday, the 11th of December, 2025, well, the 11th of December, 2026, where are you standing? Who are you? How are you feeling about having lost that 20, 30 centimeters, about drinking that 2 to 3 liters of water a day, about speaking on stage, about giving the most amazing address, about leading that team, about building that incredible business, about qualifying for that incentive trip, whatever it is. Program that elephant, create a new habit, and watch the results take care of themselves. This has been Sean from the beautiful Wonders of South Africa, and I look forward to bringing you episode 5 next week, next Wednesday. And folks, please like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube if you don't mind. It helps just to create more of a ripple and a wave out there. And I'd love other people to hear about the podcast. I'll be interviewing people next year as well, going into that. At the moment, they're a little bit of a monologue, sharing some of my thoughts as well, but laying the foundation for where we're going next year in 2025. But give me your feedback. I really appreciate it. We appreciate you. From Michelle and I in the beautiful Winelands, all the best. Until next time, cheers.